years old in 2002. I was based in Kano at the time with my family. However, my two sisters, who are much older than I am, were away for university and law school, and my father was mostly out of town for work, except for weekends. I have an uncle who's an adopted brother, younger brother to my father. While in transit from Maiduguri to Port Harcourt back to Maiduguri, he would pause at our house in Kano to catch a break, to meet us, just as normal family members would come by and spend time. During his visits, when my parents would not be around, or maybe my mom is in the back doing things related to kitchen or washing, or my father is out of the house, he would use that as an opportunity to carry me, put me on his lap, make me perform oral on him, and also finger me. And even though it was painful, especially the fingering, I would be begging him to stop. Please, uncle, stop, it's painful. He would shout at me and he would tell me I should shut up, close my mouth and continue whatever it was he was doing, regardless of how painful, how much I begged him. And he would threaten me that if I ever opened up to anybody about it, he would deal with me. I never felt safe or confident enough to share things with my family, especially not something like this, where an uncle that was very much respected in the house, loved by everyone, was hurting me, especially as he threatened me and made me feel like I was dirty. I had to hold on to this in silence. Uncle Ibro, after we moved from Kano, I had no contact with him until 2008. We were living in Maiduguri at this time, and my grandfather, who's my father's father, was ill at the time, so Uncle Ibro came to Maiduguri to visit him. However, he did not come to our house. There's a particular neighborhood called Milk Shop. My father was driving Ibro and I, and he went to Milk Shop. Ibro was sitting in front and I was at the back. At this point, I was about 9 or 10 years old. My father went out of the car to go and do whatever it was he was doing, leaving just Uncle Ibro and I. Uncle Ibro was looking at me through the rear mirror, and then after my father was out of sight, he began to bring up memories of what he had done. It's like Shegia. Shegia means bastard, female bastard in Hausa. Na sinkin tuna da abin da yana miki da. I know you remember what I used to do to you. Na san abubuwan da kina yi da maza. I know what you do with boys now. I know you're a harlot. I know you're a slut. I can even see it on your face. And it came out of nowhere. That ride was already uncomfortable for me to just see this man's face. He made me cry. I was begging him to please stop talking to me like that. When my father came back, he just gave an excuse as to why I was crying, and I couldn't open up to my father about it. In the same time period, one of my father's former best friends, who's now a professor in Unimed, Dr. David Wapakta, he would come by the house to come and visit. Still at this time, my sisters were away for university and work, so they were not at home. My father was also working out of town, leaving just my mom and I. However, this time around, my mom was sick. She had suffered 2 strokes, so she had a little bit of damage to her brain and she was half paralyzed. So she was unable to move around conveniently, and she had to pee a lot, so even if guests would come around, she wouldn't be able to sit with them throughout. So David Wapakta would come the way aunties and uncles would come just to check on us, because I was small in primary school. We had house helps that would come and go, so they were not always around. So he would come to the house to visit, and then he would bring rubber bands and biros that were popular at the time, and he would maybe ask me to escort him to his car to collect, or when my mom is away, maybe to go and eat herself. He would do similar things to what my uncle was doing to me. He would begin to finger me and play with my chest. At the time, puberty had not hit yet, so I didn't have anything on my chest, but he would do that. And unlike with my uncle, he did not threaten me. Instead, he just told me I should just keep quiet, I should just be a good girl. And already there was this fear and shame that I had just hearing how people would talk about people that have been with men. I just saw myself as such a person. How can I come and open up now, especially now that my mom is sick and there's just so much happening in the family. I did not see David Wapakta until 2014 or so. I was schooling in Jos, in secondary school at the time, and my father was passing by. Normally when my dad stops by in school, myself and all of my friends will run to him because he will come with provisions or maybe money to give us. So this time it was after church on Sunday. We all ran, and then when I reached the parking lot, I just saw David Wapakta and I froze. Normally I begged my father to stay back, please don't go, but that day I just wanted them to go, because just seeing him, sorry, that means it killed my spirit. Just seeing him, all those memories came back. Now I was in a Christian school. You know, there's ways that they talk about purity and what ladies should be like. So all my life hearing that, now coming to a Christian school, hearing that I am impure and dirty, it just brought back memories, and it made me very angry and withdrawn for a bit. In 2019, I was in my room one night and I was having a serious meltdown. I decided to send a Facebook message to the first person, that is Uncle Ibrahim. He had sent me a friend request on Facebook. I had accepted it. He sent me happy birthday 1 year and I told him thank you. But I did not mean it. And I'm like, why am I having to pretend to respect these people and be nice to them, to answer them, to pretend everything is okay? So after I had finished crying, I reached out to him on Facebook, telling him that I remember everything and about how this still affects me to date, because it was late at night, but I just couldn't sleep. That's how nights are for me. I had not forgiven him and that I would open up to the family soon. I'm just waiting to muster up the courage. And he sent me a message that I found really insensitive, telling me to just let bygones be bygones, that he has already buried it in his past. Why am I still holding on to it? I should just forgive and forget it. And it made me so angry, because how can you say that to me after having damaged a lot of my life? I have serious problems connecting to people, starting and maintaining friendships. While in secondary school, as I mentioned, I used to think about this a lot. It got to the point that I was contemplating suicide for a while. Even also in university, there will be times that the thoughts will just come to my mind, where I'll just be feeling low, and maybe while I'm feeling low, my academics will now come down. So altogether, I'll just feel useless, and I'll just be thinking. In September of 2020, before leaving Yobe State, I was with my dad. I told him I needed to talk to him about something. So I told him about it and he was in so much shock. He couldn't believe it, because Uncle Ibro in the family is more respected than some of my father's blood brothers, because of how he carries himself to be in the community. How could he have done such a thing to my father, given how close they used to be? And my father's former best friend, they'd been friends for over 4 decades, if I'm not mistaken. After my mom's passing in 2016, my sisters and I have been trying to become closer in relationships. So last year I was talking to Mommy on the phone. One of my relatives was telling me about something an older man had done to her or tried to do to her. So I was telling my sister about it. And then I broke down on the phone and I told her what had happened to me as a child. I was afraid, because I didn't know how she was going to take it. All these years of shame and fear not being able to share with her. She was in so much shock. She called my other sister and she told her. So I told them I just want justice. I don't want to sweep this under the carpet, because Ibro is a teacher in a primary school in Dutse. He has access to children. David is a professor in the university. God knows what he's doing to the girls there for their grades, for their marks. He's an elder in EYN Polo, is a church in Maiduguri. What is he doing there? They carry themselves and people respect them. I want people to know them for who they are, to know that